So, to continue on with this Patreon friends, Patreon supporters, favorite films lists, and my reaction to the favorite films lists of Patreon supporters, I'd like to go to the list that was very kindly provided to me by the one, the only Aaron West. So, Aaron West, my dear friend, our dear friend, to me, he will always be one of the greats. Criterion pioneers in my eyes. Always has been, always will be. And so he knows so much about Criterion. He follows it, not just Criterion, of course, but cinema across the board. And you can tell from his list, which I'll get to in a moment. But just in terms of my own cinema journeys and my own, say, early ventures in online Criterion spaces, as it were, online communities and podcasting, etc. Aaron has always been a wonderful, positive influence and presence. And so I'm very, very honored to be able to call him friends. So thank you very much, Aaron, and also for being so supportive as always. So wonderful indeed. And you very kindly provided to me your favorite films list via a letterboxed link. And so I will then go to your letterbox. And I've already seen this list and I'm very impressed with it. It's a wonderfully long list. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. To my eyes here at the moment, it's counting at 126. And I see that there are so many films. I think I'm very impressed in terms of not just the scope and the depth, but also the breadth. There's a wide range. And so I'm very impressed with this. And also, there are a number of Criterion titles as well. So it's nice to see the great overlap between two things that you love, both cinema related, of course, favorite films on the one hand, and also titles to be found in Criterion. And maybe there might be some kind of connection there, but in any event, it's really wonderful. So I'm just looking at the page now. As I mentioned, I don't know if I can talk about all the films specifically, but I'll try to talk about as many as I can, just in terms of my own reactions. So just from the start, this is really wonderful. We have films like I'm looking at the second page here. Films like Office Space, wonderful. Scott Pilgrim, oh, wonderful. Small Axe, right? I was able to watch Small Axe for the first time. The series. I was able to watch it via the recent Criterion release, I think from last year. So that was a wonderful, wonderful experience in terms of the number of films that are included within that series. And I learned so much that I hadn't known before. 120 Letters of Iwo Jima. Interesting. I saw that in the theater when it was first released. I think I was in the States at the time. So if my memory is correct, yes. So perspective. It's a very fascinating work. So, and I'm just scrolling down here. Beaches of Agnes as well. Yes, Shane, wonderful. Requiem for a Dream at 113 here. Requiem for a Dream. Wow, I saw Requiem for a Dream in the theater when it was first released, and so this was several years ago. But I must say, I had no idea what to expect when I went to the theater. I wasn't quite ready to I wasn't ready for what it was I was about to see. And then when it all hit, everything, it became this. It was almost, and I mean this in a very positive way, but maybe not quite to the level of feeling nausea, but it felt very. I felt like I was swept up in a sea of cinematic chaos, I suppose. And so it was very. I think that was a part of the effect of the film on purpose and on point, but I felt very sickened by a lot of the things that I was seeing. So I was very unprepared for it, but I think that was part of the point, and incredibly effective, incredibly harrowing, very difficult film to watch at times. But Requiem for a Dream, yeah, that was another very unforgettable experience in the theater. So. Oh, this is so wonderful here. So again, I wish I could talk about everything here, but you have such great, again, as examples, Metropolis is here, Grand Budapest Hotel, 12 Years a Slave, oh, wonderful, Stromboli, yes. And let's see here, just scrolling to the first page here, where you have listed here your top favorite from 1 to 100. So going down from 100 downwards, you have, oh, really? Oh, wonderful. Man with the Movie. And oh, this is, I'm seeing a lot of Criterion titles. This is great. And then also Get Back, the Beatles Get Back version, a very interesting entry here, and at slot number 88 as well. So I didn't know. Are you a Beatles fan, Aaron? I'm not sure. I don't know if we've ever spoken about the Beatles directly. But if you are, please let me know. I am a huge Beatles fan. I don't know if I'm the biggest Beatles expert. I don't have all the knowledge of the Beatles as many other wonderful Beatles fans and enthusiasts do, but I am a fan. That's for sure. That's a great choice. And oh gosh, I'm now drawn to your lineup of 82 and 83. Twin Peaks, the Return, the Return series at 82, and then 83 Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. So that kind of 1-2, that 1-2 delivery here, that's really great. I'm really, really thrilled about that. And I remember, actually, I remember, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, but I remember when the limited series had been released, was being released on Showtime, right? I was in Japan at the time, so I wasn't able to watch the show as it was being released. Um, so I had to wait a little bit before I could enjoy the glory and majesty that was Twin Peaks: The Return. But I did manage to catch up with it, and I remember that I think you had some discussions on your podcast with regard to reactions to Twin Peaks: The Return. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's I know that you're a fan, but I didn't know you were this much a fan. So much so that you would put these works in your top 100s. That's really wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And oh gosh, Pat, Thin Blue Line. My goodness, yes. Um, I saw this in college, and it was also my sort of foray into Errol Morris at the time. And then at the same time, I discovered Vernon, Florida, and Gates of Heaven, etc. And I was particularly drawn, I must say, if I remember correctly, I was particularly drawn to Gates of Heaven. It was kind of like coming out of nowhere for me, and so it really dawned on me in this terms of the voice that was Errol Morris, especially during this early period of Errol Morris's filmography. And then the Thin Blue Line is in there, as you know, which is a stunner, absolute stunner of a work. Um, I am a big fan of the music of Philip Glass, and so the theme, the opening theme of the Thin Blue Line, with that goes over the opening title sequence of the Thin Blue Line, that I listen to that theme almost on a loop sometimes. So, and it's just it's an incredibly complex work, as you know, and it goes into maybe documentary and true crime, that kind of thing. So, well done, well done. Again, I'm skipping over so many titles here. I apologize. I really, really apologize. But oh, Wally's Naked, Mike Leigh's film Naked. Ah, oh, Kings of the Road. Well done. World of Tomorrow. Wow, that's an interesting choice. I'm at 68. More David Lynch with Blue Velvet here. Oh my goodness. I wish I could just talk about all of these. Oh my goodness. Pulse. Wow, Pulse is at 47. Wow, this is the Kurosawa Kiyoshi, right? Kurosawa Kiyoshi film, Pulse. Wow, that is really fascinating. That is really great. I think, I mean, I saw Pulse when it was released. I didn't see it in the theater, but I saw it on a Japanese DVD, and that was the period after I had seen Cure for the first time. And so to have that kind of, I mean, they're both similar in a lot of ways, but they're also very different, maybe you might agree to. But I love that balance of what we saw in Pulse and what we saw in Cure, and so it took me a little bit to try to process it because it does take a lot of jumps in terms of its concepts. I think in a really brave way. So, oh, well done for me including that. Well done. Oh yes, Breaker Moran, of course. Rocco and his brothers. Well done at 42. Oh, that's great. That's really great. Sunrise at 37. I may have mentioned that Sunrise, if if ever I were to be abducted by aliens, and I were to be abducted and taken to the alien ship, and maybe the aliens sat me down at the alien table and maybe gave me some refreshment or something, and they wanted to ask me, so what are some examples of love and human society? If aliens that abducted me were to ask me this question, I would perhaps point to films. I would say to my alien hosts, if you want examples of love in humanity, I would very respectfully direct your attention to two films that were made in the course of the history of cinema. One is Sunrise. The other is Powell and Pressburger's Matter of Life and Death. But one of them would be Sunrise. And I would say to my alien friends, please, if you are interested to know what love is, watch Sunrise. So, I love that film. I love that film. So I remember when I saw that for the first time, it's one of those things where it wasn't easy for me to watch growing up, but I had to kind of discover it a little bit later. But when I did, it was like, all the special effects spectacle. I wasn't prepared for all that I would see, but it became one of those things where, even now in the conversation, you have sometimes talks about how maybe the story is overshadowed by the spectacle of the special effects, or maybe something like that. But sometimes when films get the balance just right, story and spectacle are balanced just right, then it becomes this really fascinating thing. And I think Sunrise is probably one of the premier examples of that, at least in my opinion. But oh God, I'm sorry. I'm totally getting carried away here. I'm so sorry. So sorry about this. It's a great list, my dear friend. It's a great list. Um, wow, Eris is here. Children of Paradise. The best years of our lives, of course. The human condition. The human condition. A soldier's prayer. So the third, say, component, or maybe the third chapter, or however one wants to refer to it in terms of the human condition cycle of the cycle, and you have that specifically at 21. That is another very tough film, and I saw the human condition, all three, the cycle of films, the cycle in the movie theater when I was still in New York, just before I moved, actually. But I still had the opportunity to go to the movie theater. That was, yeah, that was one of the most intense movie theater going experiences of my life. Ah, this is so good. And Mulholland Drive's A Grand Illusion, Decalogue. Ah, Sweet Spell of Success. Shoah. Wow, number 12. Yes, The Long Good Friday. The Long Good Friday. Oh gosh, The Long Good Friday. Maybe one of these days I should try to practice my Bob Hoskins impression from The Long Good Friday. I can't quite manage it. Bob Hoskins' performance here is as you know, out of this world. It's one of the greats. And then I'm going to your top 10. Wow, what a great top 10. Absolutely great top 10 here. Um, I spoke about Apu Chansar on this channel very recently, thanks to the great re-release of the Opus trilogy by Criterion on 4K, as I'm sure you know. So Opus Chansar is it's that's really interesting, and I'm so fascinated here that I think a lot of attention goes to, in particular, Patra Panchali, the first film, but uh, you've put on your list here, and very high up, the third film, Apu Chansar. So that's well done, and I do. That film is so great, as you know. It has that wonderful relationship between the two main leads, and then what happens, and how it's a kind of reflection of a sort of cyclical thing that happens, and it's a reflection back on many of the life points that we have shared as viewers of the other films and the so-called trilogy of works revolving on this character of Apu. This is really great. I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry. This is overwhelming, indeed. Uh, ah, Persona and Come and See, Rules of the Game. Imat, gosh, and Brighter Summer Day. I'm so happy to see that. Whenever I see that on a list, it makes me very happy. Um, I'm very, very happy indeed. Uh, I didn't realize, gosh, I didn't realize that Come and See was your number one. I didn't know that. I'd known that you were this was a film that was very impactful upon you. I didn't realize that you had placed it there in terms of a list. So that is an incredibly, incredibly difficult film, incredibly harrowing work. Um, and it's done. How should I put it? Um, there's a sense almost of a type of maybe purposefully applied whimsy that I think is made even more, that makes the horrors that we see displayed even on the periphery of the screen even more horrific. I don't know if that makes any sense. So there that really fascinating, almost cryptic balance that's struck between the kind of almost ability for the film to reach for a sense of maybe a kind of, for lack of a better word, fantasy, but it's not quite fantasy, I know, but it's reaching for that in some areas, but it's also using it in a way to further augment the horrors that are really happening both directly and indirectly to our main characters as we meet them. So, those horrors are quite gritty and unflinching and incredibly disturbing. So, an impactful film, one of probably the most impactful films of the late 20th century, arguably. So, my goodness, and so much more, Aaron. I'm so sorry. I've been totally monopolizing the conversation in terms of the format of this video. I apologize, but I just wanted to let you know your list is magnificent, absolutely magnificent. I haven't even begun even to scratch the surface of the magnificence of this list. But I, for one, am very impressed. And as I mentioned before, I liked how there are a lot of Criterion titles. Of course, not all the titles are Criterion, and nor do they have to be, of course. And I know you know that, but it's wonderful to see that crossover between two things that you very, very evidently love and admire and cherish. That is cinema, great examples of cinema, and the Criterion Collection. So well done indeed. I'm very impressed with this. But my dear friend, thank you so much for being willing to share this with me. And absolutely wonderful indeed. Absolutely wonderful. Sound of the Mountain. Wow. Oh, oh gosh. Uh, oh gosh. This is anyway. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much, my dear friend, and we'll be in touch. Thank you. Thank you, Aaron West. Thank you.